Hey girls, welcome to the Asterisk Podcast. I'm your host, April Biondolillo. Hey girls, welcome back to the Asterisk Podcast, where I'm your host, April Biondolillo, and today on the show we have my bestie, Gabby. I will tell you the whole story of how I met Gabby, but before we do, a little bit of background for you. Gabby is a 24 elementary music teacher and youth worship leader, originally from Houston, Texas. So you know I already love her, and I'm obsessed because she's from Texas. But now she resides in Tri-Cities, Washington with her husband, Aaron, AA. There is some confusion of maybe he doesn't know how to spell his own name, but it is correct. Her two cats, Bonnie and Biggie, and her dog, Billy. There's a lot of Bonnie, Biggie, Billy. Yeah, we love her anyways. A lot of bees. But Gabby, welcome to the podcast. Glad to have you here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's going to be a good time.
It's
So,
great.
Fun story. Obviously, Gabby and I now both work at the same church, but I was doing a Cherish booth at our home church, and I was out in the lobby promoting Cherish conference, and all of a sudden, this really cute girl walks in the back door with, I assume, either a boyfriend or a husband. I don't know. They're late for church. Shame on them, but it's fine because we all roll in late. And she's getting coffee. And I looked to Andrew because if you know my husband, he is an extroverted extrovert, so he has no problem meeting people. I was like, Andrew, I think this girl could be my best friend. She's so cool. Literally go say hi to her and bring her over here. And so as a good husband, he did this. And I got to connect with Gabby, instantly fell in love, took her to coffee, and the rest is now history. We work together.
Okay.
I'm obsessed with her. She's wonderful. And I'm just so excited for everyone to get to connect with her on the show. So, Gabby, are you ready?
What's up? I think so.
You think
I'm ready.
so? I told her, I was like, we have questions prepared, but we're probably also just going to chat, which we love,
Great. Yeah.
We're besties on the podcast. So we're going to dive on in just to give everyone a little bit of background of you. Tell us a little bit about maybe your upbringing, how you came to know Jesus, all the really good, deep stuff. Give us the 411 on Gabby.
Okay, so I met, in interest of being deep, I got my childhood, like, not normal family dynamic. So I grew up with my aunt, who I call my mom, my aunt who is my mom's sister. So my aunt raised us, and by us, I mean my second oldest brother, who is only 2 years older than me, and then my oldest brother is 10 years older than me, but he grew up with my grandparents. My family has always been involved in church, so I grew up Christian, grew up going to church every Sunday. Loved my home church back in Houston. I was very involved in the music ministry there. I was in the children's choir since I was 7 years old. So I was like involved. I got baptized when I was 8 years old. Did that. Kind of went through I call this my quote unquote rebellious phase in middle school. This was when me and my aunt / mom started butting heads because we have very similar personalities. We started butting heads a little, and there were some Sundays I skipped out on church, and she wasn't even trying to argue with me, so she would go to church without me.
She's like, I'm going to church. You stay home.
You know those middle school years. Those middle school years. It was great. And then I got back on track. High school.
Love it.
And then it probably wasn't till senior year where I really got serious about following Jesus, following Christ for myself. It wasn't just I go to church because my family goes to church. I'm not just going to church because I'm in choir. So yeah, when I was about 17, 18, I really started getting serious. So yeah, that's...
So talk to us a little bit about your family dynamics, as much as you want to share and feel comfortable to share, and how that played maybe a role in you stepping into a more serious relationship with the Lord. Like you said, your older brother was with your grandparents, you were with your aunt. So you're not living in a traditional household of mom and dad. How do you think that played an impact on your life?
Yeah, I think because I didn't grow up with the father figure. Me and my father are not in contact. I probably can count the amount of times I've talked to my father on one hand my whole life. So, and that's hard,
Yeah.
People call that, they call those daddy issues, and that stuff is real. Not having a stable father figure and mother figure in your life, that
Absolutely.
definitely has a negative effect on a child and growing up, and my self-worth as an individual, and how I view, like, I never had a good idea of what a romantic relationship should be like. The only place I was getting my knowledge of a romantic relationship was in television and movies and books. That was where I was seeing what an ideal romantic relationship should be like. I never saw that in any of my household. Even my grandparents would not consider them to be, a stellar look at what married life should be like. And when I was a senior, when I really started getting serious, it was after a really bad breakup in high school. I was just devastated after this relationship didn't work out. And it worked out for a variety of reasons. But I will say one of those being I didn't know how to be in a relationship, didn't know what, a real man should be like. Although in high school,
you think
they're still boys. You think and really, I remember that summer just bawling my eyes out every day. I was not having healthy eating habits. I was working out every day, like tiring my body out. Because that's all I wanted to focus on. I lost a lot of friends after that breakup, so I felt very isolated, very alone. I was spending that summer with my grandparents, which I love my grandparents. I love spending the summers with them. So that was probably the one positive thing that summer was getting, spend time with them. But even then, they're elderly, and I'm 17. We don't have a lot in common. So I'm feeling very isolated at this point. And one night that summer, I just broke down and I just felt so alone and didn't know where to go, didn't know where to turn. And all of a sudden, I'm not the person where some people have their stories where they like literally hear the voice of God, like they could hear a voice. I never got that, but I did have this feeling of like, and this urge to just like turn on some worship music and just worship God and pray to God. That night, I've never had that feeling before ever in that call. And that night, like, I bawled my eyes out, was listening to worship music, was praying, because I literally had nowhere else to turn to. And that was me meeting God and God meeting me and being like, I mean, you ain't got nowhere else to go, but I've been here the whole time. And that was very, very freeing for me. Obviously, that didn't solve all my emotional problems, but it was the first step into
start.
Yes, into healing, into knowing, no, I'm not alone. Though I can't see him, he is here. And that was big confirmation for me. And I had a big turnaround. I would say a very successful senior year, ended up going off to college after that. And I was very emotional my senior year. It was not great. That year I got diagnosed with depression and anxiety. But I was better than where I was. So, yeah.
Oh, thank you for that. Do you think that you're experiencing like abandonment and rejection, like not just from the relationship, but that was kind of, I guess, hitting back at all of the things that you had gone through that maybe you weren't really like facing? Do you think that was kind of all bubbled up together?
Oh yeah. And especially because my whole life, my aunt, she did the best she could.
Yeah.
And we were kind of put on to her not, and it wasn't something that she asked for.
Right.
But she took care of us and loved us as if we were her own. I'm so grateful for
Amazing.
her.
Yeah.
And she did the best she could trying to play mom and dad. But there are
Right.
just certain things that
Mm.
she couldn't always do. And she was a single mom at that.
Wow.
And a school teacher. She taught middle school English my whole life growing up. She taught in a school district that was an hour away. So there were days that like it was we only saw her when she dropped us off for daycare or school in the morning, and then we saw her when she picked us up from daycare or school in the afternoon. And that was elementary school. So think when we get to high school, I'm riding the bus and stuff. I might not have even seen her some days because I was riding the bus and taking care of myself. So there were times where I was on my own, not to any of her fault. It's just the way, I mean, when you're in a single parent household, it's just life.
Yeah.
And we get so busy. And my brother, second oldest brother, he had a lot of health issues. So my mom, she had to really put a lot of her focus on him. I was perfectly healthy, you know, child. I was very independent. I took care of my schoolwork. I was very responsible. So I was a child that she never had to worry about.
Right.
Which in turn sometimes just left me in the dust because she didn't have to worry about me, but she really did have to worry about my brother because he had to go to the hospital. There were one time, I can't remember how old I was, but he was like staying in the hospital because the doctors were running tests, trying to figure out what was going on. So there was a lot, and I don't blame her. I mean, I feel like any single parent, obviously, if there's a child that's healthy and a child that's sick, you have to kind of prioritize. But unfortunately, that leaves the healthy child, the responsible child, the child that you don't need to worry about, kind of
in the background.
In the background. So
no, I think I love that you hit at the fact of you honor your aunt. You can look back and see so much of this isn't something she was like, oh, I want to do this. You know, it came to her and she said yes, and she did the best of what she could with what she had. But then there's also just the reality of she wasn't going to ever be able to fill that hole in your heart for a mom and a dad and that stability. And so you can be grateful. And I think that's important for anyone that's listening that may find themselves in a similar situation of how to navigate those emotions. Like, it's okay to be upset and to process through that. And it's also okay to be grateful. But the moment that you're not grateful or have that feeling of frustration, that doesn't mean like shame, you know, has to enter the picture. And that's definitely the enemy's hand at work. So you mentioned you got diagnosed with anxiety and depression your senior year of high school. When you got that news, was that like a breath of fresh air? Was it devastating? Like, how did that affect you? And then what did that look like walking that out when you got that diagnosis?
For me, and I can remember this day very vividly. So this was spring of my senior year, and I had been going through all of my senior year was a rough patch, but this was like a really hard time for me. We were coming up, I think, on like prom and stuff. And my ex-boyfriend, obviously, I'm seeing my ex-boyfriend and his new girlfriend at school every day. So that's hard. That was one of the reasons why it was so hard. I was coming to school and every day I'm just getting hit in the face with like memories, and I'm seeing him being able to move on. I'm like, why am I not able to move on? Like, he seems like he's doing fine. I'm not doing fine. So that, it was just building up. We're starting to get towards prom, which, you know, for a single girl in high school, prom can
big deal.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
It's very daunting. And that like a couple of weeks leading up, you know, I told my best friend I was having suicidal thoughts. I didn't have a plan, but it was the talk of, you know, I think like I would just rather not have to deal with this anymore. Like, I'm tired of this. And I literally was like saying, like, I just want to be in heaven. Like, can I just like go be with God? Like, that's what I was thinking. My mindset, I just was like, it wasn't that I wanted to die or that I wanted to kill myself. I just was tired of hurting all the time.
The pain was a
I was
lot.
tired. it was a lot. And I was just like, I'm tired of feeling like this. And my best friend, Jordan, I'm so thankful for her and the fact that she did this. She referred me to the school counselor, but it wasn't like the normal high school. I didn't even know this part of the high school existed.
Okay.
Like I just got this slip one day because Jordan, my best friend Jordan, she told me, she's like, I'm telling somebody, and she's like, I love you, and I'm not letting you talk like this. Like I'm telling somebody. So she told somebody. I still don't know who she told. I just got to know, the little office aides. They came to my class with a slip, hall pass for me, and my teacher was like, Gabby, go to this whatever room. Right. So I went to this room, never seen this part of high school before, ever. And I met with this counselor in her cozy little office, and I just basically told her everything that was happening and going on. And she encouraged me to talk to my mom. And so I went home that day to talk to my mom. Wow. And my mom had, for that a while, I don't know how long she'd been diagnosed or had been going to see a psychiatrist, but she'd been diagnosed with mental health as well. And so she took me, scheduled an appointment for her psychiatrist, saw her psychiatrist. This was in the spring at some point. I remember this day, though. I talked to the psychiatrist, the nurse practitioner. She was just like, all right. She like said, just tell me like what's going on. And as soon as she asked me like what's going on, I just burst into tears. And I told her everything that had been going on. And it felt so good to get it off my chest, because at that point, I hadn't really told my mom. Like I told my mom that I was feeling very like sad.
What you needed to tell her, yeah.
What I needed to tell her. My best friend knew because she's my best friend, but she had just seen everything play out. She didn't really know like all of my deep emotions. Yeah. And then even with the school, I told her again what she needed to know. But with the nurse, she was just like, well, what's going on? And for somebody who was like, just from an outside perspective, it was just nice to just get all off my chest. I knew for sure it was going to be confidential. It was just nice to have a safe space to just let the floodgates, truly, I just let the floodgates go. And it was so freeing getting the diagnosis, and she put me on medication. And because I knew I was not crazy, she never made me feel crazy. She was like, I think there's just something, there's some rewiring in your brain that you're not crazy. It's not, there's nothing wrong with you. And she was like, it's completely understandable that you are feeling all of these things, and there's something that we can do to help you. There's ways that we can help you. We'll check in. I'm a believer that God helps those who help themselves, and so that's why I'm a big supporter of medication if you need it. Yes. And talking to doctors and talking to healthcare professionals, because I think, and like Pastor Adrian was talking about just a few weeks ago, these things come from God, so we shouldn't look at it as like some crazy gift, it's a gift. And it was so freeing that moment, because I didn't just feel like, oh, something's wrong with me, right? And it just some's different. Everybody's brain is different, and mentally there were some things that needed to be helped a little bit to be rewired, but there was things that could help me. So
I love that. And it's again that message of, we can believe that God can heal us, and we can also be taking medicine. And
yes,
even at my college, there is these praying hands right outside of our campus, and it's these giant praying hands, and one represented like medication and just, doctors and everything that's been provided up to this day. And then the other hand was just like prayer and God, and you put those two together, and just the beauty of that. Because I know for a long time we didn't have a lot of knowledge or education, or people weren't talking about it, or we definitely didn't have social media and the platforms that we do today, to the decibel that we do today. And so a lot of the conversation around depression and anxiety or medication or mental health, it was poorly communicated. It was a lot of hush hush. We didn't talk about it. And you definitely didn't take medication within the church. That was like an absolute, like, it just was put out there as a horrible decision to do. And you're not having enough faith, you're not trusting God. And so I'm so grateful that we have taken steps forward from that place and given people the space to get the help that they truly need and recognize
Yes.
that. And I mean, there is mental health, and even I heard this too when I was working at the mission. There's mental health and then there's mental illness. Like there's a difference between the two.
Mhm.
And so just even educating yourself a little bit more on that. But I love that for you, one, that you had a friend, and this is encouraging too for anyone listening, that heard you and
Mhm.
spoke up into that area and,
Yes.
brought life to that. And then, brought that to an adult. And then secondly, that every step that you took, they were quick to make the next step. Like you got to go home and advocate for yourself. And then your aunt, your mom, they set that up for you, or she set that up for
Mhm.
you. And then the psychiatrist, just getting to move along. What advice would you give to anyone that maybe is experiencing anxiety or depression in their life?
I feel like the biggest thing that I can speak on that is one, know that you are not alone.
Yeah.
And that definitely feeling depression, anxiety, that a lot of time that's how our brain makes us feel, and the enemy tries to make us feel like you are alone,
Yeah.
and all these negative, untrue thoughts cloud your mind. I feel like that's a lot for me with my anxiety and my depression. It's a lot of mental psyching myself out about things,
Yeah.
not liking myself, shutting
Right.
down. Um, and the biggest thing I would recommend is communicating and trusting your loved ones. You don't need to tell
Mm,
everybody your business, but those that you love, having somebody that you can tell this stuff about. Because if
absolutely.
not, then um, it's very easy to let yourself isolate yourself. And yes, definitely pray to God. That is main thing, and praying every day, talking to God every day, but also having um, another human that you
Yeah.
trust and can confide in, just to relate to,
Right.
um, and maybe be your sounding board. For me, I have my wonderful husband now,
Yes.
and I trust him with my life. And
Mm,
even still, he is my husband, and I love him, and we have been together going on 6 years, and it is still hard for me to tell him
mm,
when something is not right. So I'm struggling with that myself. Like I'm telling myself that too.
yeah.
It can be so hard to open up because again, you don't want anybody to look at you like you're crazy. You
Mm,
don't want to look like you don't have it all
yeah.
together,
Yeah.
but we're humans and we're not always going to have it all together.
Right.
Um, and so having a human that you
Yes.
can
I love
trust
that.
and rely on, whether it is a parent or a sibling or a best friend
Right.
or a significant other. You don't have to tell everybody your business. You know, nobody, not everybody needs to know. But or even if you are in like a group, like a Bible study or anything, or you
Yeah.
do have like a group of friends, being able to share this stuff, because you would be surprised, one, how sharing your testimony, sharing your struggles with others can be freeing for someone else, and maybe
Yes.
somebody else is just waiting to know
Right.
that they're not alone.
Right.
And two, like it's just to be able to share that and to be able to be open and have communication
Absolutely.
with others. You know, God says we're not meant to be alone. That is
Right.
why there are other humans. We're not meant to do this life thing by ourselves, and it
Yeah.
can be very easy to forget
No, that's good.
that.
And there's such freedom that's brought with that too for ourselves and for those around us. I love that you hit at that. So you mentioned your husband. So Gabby, who was
Yeah.
sad in high school and it was a really hard time, which that is a really hard time. Like even just you talking about
Yes.
prom, I'm like, oh, I remember all my friends were getting asked. I got asked by a good friend and then he like backed out. And so I went with no
Yes.
date, and my best
Oh.
friends had dates, and I look back at the pictures, and it's just it was the worst night, and it was the night before my birthday, like, it was just everything, but it's like, we look back at that and we see, like, man, God is so much bigger than those things, and life is so much larger than those moments, but in that moment, it's hard, and so just if you're walking through that, that pain is is so real, and it's not childish. It's not looked down upon. It's your real feelings and hardships. But
Yeah,
Gabby made it through that,
I
and
did.
she met her husband. So tell us a little bit about how you met Aaron and y'all's little love journey.
So Aaron and I met my freshman year of college in November. Um, and my roommates were tired of me moping around the dorm room because, I was stressed out college kid. I thought was like, oh, no boys like me. And I'm
Mm,
like, Gabby, you need to get out the house. Like, let's get you on Bumble. So they set me up on Bumble, and I was like, okay, like I'll try this little dating site, whatever. I wasn't thinking anything was gonna come of it. And Aaron, to this day, he doesn't believe me when I tell him this. He got a big ego sometimes. I was swiping and I put my phone down, or I put my phone down. My roommates like took it from me, but my roommates were the one who swiped yes on Aaron. I didn't swipe yes on him, but he doesn't believe me when I tell him that.
classic man.
So he thinks I'm trying to be like hard to get. No,
You're
but
like,
I
that's just the
did end
actual
up.
story.
That's just the actual story. When on Bumble is nice because the girl has to reach out first.
Yep.
She has to send the first message. So I did look at Aaron. I was like, oh, he's cute. And he had a picture of his dog on his profile. So that was like the first thing I asked him. I was like, oh, what's the dog's name? And he told me, and we started talking. And he was like really the only one on that website that I actually like had full conversation, and we had talked for a couple of days. And then after a couple of days, he asked me on a date.
Love it.
And this was like my first like date. Like, because even in high school, me and my ex, we didn't go out on dates. We were in high school. And
Right.
like I said, there was a lot of things wrong in that relationship. But so I was nervous. Plus, Aaron is 3 years older than me. So I was like, oh my gosh, like he's an older guy. Like, I'm really nervous. Then I was worried. I'm like, what if he's a catfish? Like, what if I'm about to get kidnapped? So I was really scared. And I did send him on a wild goose chase our first date. Okay.
You did.
I can admit that. Okay. I was just so nervous though.
Yes.
And I thought I was going to throw up. We were supposed to eat at this restaurant called Chewy's. If you're not from the South,
It's amazing.
Chewy's is like a Tex-Mex restaurant, one of my favorites. Delicious.
Yes.
So we were supposed to eat at Chewy's, and then Aaron texted me. He was like, oh, there's a long wait at Chewy's. I was like, oh, perfect. I can buy myself some more time. So I sent him to Chili's, which is like a little 7-minute drive from Chewy's. I'm buying myself time. The whole time he's driving around, I'm at this little Christmas party for my my vocal class. Like all of us who were in the same vocal studio, we were having a little mini Christmas party, and they were all like, "Gabby, like, aren't you supposed to go on a date right now?" I was only supposed to stop in, say hi, and then go on a date. But I was so nervous. Oh my gosh! And then eventually, I just ended up texting him saying, "You know what? Can we just meet on Baylor's campus? That's where I went to school, Baylor, Sycamore Bears. Can we just meet on Baylor's campus and like walk around? Like, I don't think I could eat right now." So we met at Baylor's campus, and I swear to you, I had gone inside like one of the buildings to just like, it was late at night, by the way. Yeah. I think by this point it was like 9-ish. I had gone into one of the buildings, went to the bathroom, splashed my face with some water, and I left this building. I kid you not. I see Aaron like leaning up on his Jeep with his arms cut, and immediately I wasn't nervous anymore. Like my butterflies just went away, and I was just I couldn't stop. I was grinning like a fool. I was so excited, and we ended up walking around Baylor for like 3 hours or something, just talking. So, and then we went on a date 3 days later.
And now here y'all are. I love it. Yes, Andrew and I are obsessed with Aaron and Gabby. We are all best friends. That's what we're saying. We hang out all the time, and
we do.
Our husbands have fishing addictions and now play dominoes, which so weird, but that's fine. But the fun thing about you and Aaron is that you guys are actually an interracial relationship. So would love to hear how have you and Aaron navigated any cultural differences? How have people responded to that? Have you ever faced hardships? Has it been organic, natural? Give us the info.
Yeah. So for Aaron and I, at least, it was not. We never had any like conflict. Like he was never like weird about me being black. I was never weird about him being white. That was never the issue. And with our families too, they accepted both of us with open arms. That type of thing didn't really phase them or really matter to them. The biggest thing for each of our families was that we were treating each other right.
Yeah. That's good.
Where we did end up facing some conflict was one of Aaron's former friends. Was just it started off. I never really knew that he had any like issues or anything like with me. He's also white, and him and Aaron grew up together, and he was also the reason that Aaron moved to Waco to work. Aaron was a lineman when I met him. And so they worked together as well. And so they lived together too. So they were together all the time. And so I would go over to Aaron's place and like we would talk and we would hang out. And then there just got to this point where I started noticing like
some weirdness.
Some weirdness. And then there were the comments that started coming. So one night we were talking to his friend, and his friend was like, "Oh, you know, I'm having trouble like finding like somebody to date." Like he was single and he wanted to find somebody. And so we were like, "Oh," me and Aaron were like, "Well, let's like look at your dating profile to see who like let's help you out." And we were scrolling through, and I was like noticing girls that were like pretty. I was like, "Oh, like she's cute. Like she's cute. Like she looks nice. Blah 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 blah." And I started noticing. I'm like, "Why are you like saying no to all of these girls? Like they look normal. They look fine. They're cute. They look nice." And I started noticing the common denominator was that they were women of color, be it Asian, be it Hispanic, be it Black, whatever. And he told us that night, he was like, "Well, I just think people should date within their race. Like, I don't believe people should." And that was the first time Aaron and I looked at each other and we were just like, okay. He said it to us though with no, like, didn't even faze him to tell us that. Yeah. And I was like, okay. Trying to keep a level head. I didn't want to start any arguments because, again, this is somebody that Aaron lives with, works with.
Right.
So I was just like, okay, maybe I'm misunderstanding. So we go on. And then Aaron comes. We meet up one day. He tells me, "Oh, today at work, I was telling my friend about how," because I guess the night before when we were hanging out, I was like massaging Aaron's head or like playing with his hair or something. And Aaron had told like his coworkers, like they were just talking at lunch, I guess, to each other. And his friend was like, "Well, yeah, like that's what monkeys do." And so, yeah, I was like, "Aaron, that's racist." Like we're at the point now where like that's just
not acceptable. Yeah.
The previous comment, maybe I can pass that off as, okay, people have preferences. Right. He doesn't like to date outside his race. That could be a preference. Okay. That I told Aaron was like, that is racist. And Aaron at first didn't want to believe it because this is somebody that he grew up with.
Yeah, that's hard.
And that has never shown any ounce of like hatred or racism in his body, because Aaron is also from California, and that's just not how people are in California, and that's not how Aaron grew up with his family. Aaron comes from a very blended family. He has Black people in his family, Hispanic people, white people. He has a very mixed up family, so that's just never how he was raised. So it was hard for him to understand how somebody could say that and how it could be racist. And Aaron did call him out on the joke, the quote unquote joke, and let him know that it was not okay. And obviously, again, they lived together. So this was a sticky situation. It wasn't just like a
break it off. Let's go.
break it off, whatever. And I understood that. I was not
Right.
happy. And at that point, Aaron, they really didn't hang out. They just were living together. And then the final straw was one night, Aaron and his friend got invited to his other coworker's house out in the middle of the country. Alrighty. And for dinner. And Aaron had told me some crazy stuff about this other coworker too. So I was not comfortable because Aaron was like, "Do you want to come? Like, you're invited if you want." I said, "I really don't feel comfortable going to somebody's house I don't know that I've heard questionable things about." And I said, "I don't want to hang out with your other friend." And so Aaron and them, they go to his house. So I got a call a couple of hours into the night, and Aaron was like, "I need you to pick me up." And I was like, "You need me to pick you up?" And he was like, "Yeah," because he rode with his friend. And he was like, "I just need you to come get me. Like, I'm not comfortable. And, like, I really need you to just come get me." And I was like, "Okay, I'm on my way." So me and Aaron and I's mutual friend, Christian, hopped in the car. It's late at night. It's like midnight at this point, I think.
Yeah.
It was late. And like I said, this person lived in the middle of the country. So we were driving. It was dark. Christian and I were freaking out because we were like, this how horror movies start. We out in the middle of the country. It's dark outside.
Oh, no.
And we end up getting Aaron and picking him up and just leaving. And Aaron basically tells us that the night was filled with them, making racist jokes and this thing, like all these crazy like comments and stuff. And Aaron was just like, I don't want to associate with you guys anymore outside of work and living together. It was like just his final straw. And then at that point, cut off. And eventually Aaron, I don't know how long after that, but Aaron stopped living with his friend and started living with his and I mutual friend, Christian. And so, completely cut off. And it wasn't hard for Aaron. Like, Aaron very easily was able to cut him off. But it was hard in the sense that this friend of his, they had a friend group from high school that they were also very close. Like, even still to this day, like, they also talk to each other. So it became a weird dynamic. But his other friends understood, and they still hung out with this friend, but they were like, they were understanding of Aaron not having that connection that tied to him anymore.
I mean, it's a bummer on one end. It's a really cool on the other end for you to get to watch to see, I can marry this man because he is not just for your sake, but that shows like if he's doing that for you, he's going to do that for other people. Like, he's someone that is going to speak up for others and isn't a part of, judgment or criticizing or looking at people any differently, which is huge and promising to see that in a person. So sorry that you've had to navigate through those things. And I'm sure, I know that there's like other moments that have happened in your life where, it can be tricky to navigate, or how people react or respond to you. And I know even on my end, like, I've had to pay more close attention to those things. Probably like Aaron, like you don't recognize it until it's like, it's in your face and you can't deny it. You can't excuse it. You can't justify it. It is what it is. So how have you personally navigated environments where you were one of the few people who looked like you?
Well, that's basically been my whole life, because really I grew up in predominantly white schools. So really growing up, the only place where I wasn't the minority was when I went to church, because I went to a predominantly Black church. People look like me, but especially in elementary school, you could count us on one hand, at least within my grade. And it's been hard. I would say the hardest time of my life, looking like I do, being Black.
No.
I don't want to say looking like I do, but looking like I do, being Black, and not having anybody else who looked like me, really. The hardest time was probably middle school. And we know middle school is not the most fun time. It
No.
is probably the awkwardest time in a person's life. You're going through a lot of changes. You're learning a lot of things about yourself, about
Yeah.
how to be social in a new way. You're getting
Yeah.
older. You're getting a little bit more mature.
Just a little bit.
A little bit more mature, just a little bit.
Yep.
You're starting to have like romantic feelings.
Yeah.
You know, that starts. And it was hard because I started recognizing in media and with celebrities, I started to not feel desired because you see in media, the standard of beauty did not look like me. And I say
Wow.
standard of beauty with quotation marks. It did not look like me. And in middle school, I was a very big One Direction fan. Loved One Direction.
Love it.
Loved them down. You could not tell me that I was not going to marry Harry Styles. You could not tell me that that was not my husband. And also in middle school was when I discovered One Direction fan fiction. Now, I'm not recommending One Direction fan fiction to anybody, but I'm being honest here.
But you're like, this is the truth. This is the truth. Okay.
This is one of the reasons. And I remember, and again, a lot of these moments happened at my grandparents' house. In my grandparents' house one summer, this was probably the summer before 7th grade or whatever, I was all into these fan fictions. I was reading them. I was eating them up. And guess what all the girls in these fan fictions were described as? White skin, blue eyes,
wow,
blonde hair, sometimes brown hair for little residents, sometimes they had little brown eyes. Okay, we got the same eye color. I can work with that. But I remember having a very specific feeling that summer of I wish I was white.
Wow.
I wish I was white. And before that summer, I had I don't want to brag on myself, but I had beautiful long hair. It was chemically relaxed, and if you don't know what that means, it means when somebody with curly hair gets a relaxer, it chemically straightens their hair permanently. So I had one of those, but my hair was done very healthily because my mom made sure I was in that salon chair every 6 weeks.
Love it.
All right, that was in the budget. So my hair was beautiful and straight. But I remember I was trying to like emulate what I was seeing, like even on YouTube. I was big into watching like YouTube beauty gurus, and most of them, probably 95% of them, were white. So I was trying to do all the hair tutorials that they were doing.
Wow.
So I was straightening my hair every day, even though I didn't need to. I was putting a lot of heat on it. My hair ended up breaking off really bad that year. And so I ruined my hair trying to be something that I was not, because I felt like that's what I needed to be seen as beautiful. And my heart breaks because there was so much insecurity at that time. I was not proud to be Black. And to this day, I do feel shame for feeling that way. But more than shame, I just wish I could go back to my younger self and just give her a hug and tell her that she's beautiful, because nobody was telling me that. Wow. Nobody. And even I love my mom and my grandma. I love them, but we are not an affectionate family. Besides me, we are not a words of affirmation family. We don't sit there and just compliment and throw love at each other all the time. So literally, when I tell you nobody was telling me this, nobody was telling me, Gabby, you know what? You are beautiful the way you are. Wow. And you are Black and you are beautiful. And that is amazing. Nobody was telling me that. Wow. And so that was a very hard time. So I just wish if I could go back in time, I would just go hug my little 13-year-old self and tell her, like, you are beautiful and you are worthy of love. And it is an amazing, a wonderful thing to be Black. And now I love being Black. And thankfully, by the time I got to high school, my high school was a little bit more diverse. A little bit more diverse. And I kind of found my place in being Black with those fan fictions. Yeah. Again, I'm not recommending fan fictions, But I did find my community of other Black One Direction fans, and we had our own little Black interracial fan fiction community. And I'm telling you though, that was powerful for me
A
to see
healing.
myself
Yeah.
represented.
Yeah.
Representation is everything, and I don't think people realize how powerful it is to see
Mm,
yourself represented. Because when you're not, that is where the enemy comes in with all these
mm,
insecurities. You're not seen. You don't
that's
feel like
good.
you're beautiful because you don't see yourself in
Yeah.
anybody else. Um, so
No,
yeah,
that's
I'm very
huge.
passionate about that now. So
Yes, you
yeah,
are. I love it.
yeah.
That's why I love even just having you. Our church is not very diverse, and so
It's not. It's not.
but that's why it's so awesome. One, just who you are, but also the fact of what you're speaking of that representation. Like we get to have that on a weekly basis, not just like in the room, like you're the platform, like you're leading from that space and showing young people. And it's kind of like full circle because you get to pour into middle school and high school girls and immediately,
Yeah.
you're getting to connect with not just the students of color, but all the students in the room, but really you have been someone that I have seen be so confident in who they are, but you do it in such a beautiful way of being humble. And it's really cool just getting to hear more of your story and what you've had to navigate and learn and what the Lord has healed you, from, but also walked you through these pieces so that you can be that today to those around you.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of a final question will kind of tie the bow. There's been so many things we've gotten to talk about, and honestly, I could
Mm-hmm.
sit here and talk more with
Oh, me
you.
too.
Which good thing we're friends outside of this podcast
We
episode.
are. We are.
Um, but we'll kind of do these two together because I'd like to know like what role has self-confidence played in helping you navigate those spaces and even the spaces of today. But also how would you give advice to someone who feels like they don't fit in because of their appearance or cultural background? So talk to us a little bit about self-confidence and how that's played a part, and then how would you encourage someone else that may be in similar shoes to you, whether that is their cultural background or just the way that they're viewing themselves.
Mm-hmm. Confidence is hard.
Yeah.
Self confidence is it is a hard thing, especially for younger people, younger ladies. That is hard, especially because we live in a world where we tell women to be all these things.
Mm,
Be confident, but don't be vain.
yeah.
We tell them, oh, you can be smart, but don't try to be bossy.
Mm,
Be a leader, but also listen to other people as well. And we have all these
yeah. Back and forth,
back
contradictory.
and forth contradictory statements that we want women to be, and we try to tell. So it's hard
Yeah.
to build self-confidence in a world that tells you to be one thing, but also be another. And self-confidence for me has been so important because if I listened to what everybody else told me about myself, and if I just believed all those things, or if I believed what the world told me about myself, oh, I would not be in a good place. I don't even know at this point if I'd be here if I
Yeah.
listened to all those things. But
Absolutely.
yes, but thankfully we have a good God
Yeah.
who tells women, and if people don't realize this about the Bible, women and the way Jesus talks about women in the Bible,
Yeah.
it's just so beautiful, and
Absolutely.
it makes you feel cherished
Yeah.
when you
Wow.
read it. So I want to encourage any young lady, any women, even
Yeah.
young, old, whatever. If you have not taken the time to study how Jesus talks about women and
Mm,
who he says you are as a woman,
yeah.
more precious than rubies. Like, come on, somebody tell you you're more precious than rubies. Oh, if that doesn't make you feel good, like I don't know what else I don't know what other compliment you could want. I feel like that. And it just so to have that confidence from Jesus, my confidence comes from the Lord. It's not gonna come from anywhere else. and it's definitely not going to come from the world, and it's not going to come from myself. So I think that's something important to know as well. It's like, how do I get confidence? Where do I get confidence? Know who your creator is. Know who your father is.
Yeah.
Truly. And know what he says about you, because what he says about you is the truth. The truth is not what the enemy says about you. The truth is not what the world says about you. And it's not even what you say about you. Because we make up things about ourselves all the time that are simply not true. Yes. So I would say go back to the source. Go back to your creator. Go back to your father. See what he says about you. And that confidence, amen, it will take you so far.
That's good.
And to just be able to be confident and stand out in yourself, and knowing that even if you do get put into situations where maybe somebody doesn't look like you, or maybe your personality is different from those around you, you can be rest assured and secure and know that, you know what, I am exactly who God created me to be. He loves me.
Yeah.
He loves who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm not made like anybody else. I'm unique. And being unique is so powerful, and it's one of my favorite things, not being like other people. I love being unique, and that is hard. That is a hard thing to grapple with. I feel like as a younger girl, like middle school age, you don't want to be unique. You want to fit in.
Right.
But we weren't meant to fit in. We were meant to stand out, especially as Christians. We were not meant to be like everybody else. You were not meant to be of the world. You were meant to stand out.
Yeah.
And so taking back your power in that aspect as well, it will help tremendously. And again, finding that representation. If the representation is not in front of you, you might have to find it.
Yeah.
You might have to go searching, and that's okay, because I'm telling you, when you find that representation that you need, whether it is mental health representation, a disability representation, having to do with your ethnicity, your hair, whatever it is, when you find that, that is also empowering to know that there, again, just like we were talking about with communicating about mental health struggles that you might have, communicating and being open about whatever struggles, that is empowering to know that you have community, because again, the Lord did not intend for us to be alone or walk through life alone. I hope that answered that question.
I think it did.
I feel like I went off on a tangent a little.
I liked it. Preacher Gabby just came with a fire word there for us all. It's okay. I love it. No, it was so good. Gabby, this episode was incredible. And girls, I know that there's so many nuggets that you can take away from this episode, and I pray that you will share this with a friend or a sister or someone in your life that you know will benefit from hearing the words from Gabby today. If you're not already, make sure that you are following us on the podcast, following us on social media to stay tuned with when our next episode will be, events coming up, which shout out, we are doing a tour for Cherish Conference 2025. We are going to 3 locations, Fort Worth, Tri-Cities, and Seattle. And I don't know, you may see Gabby there, which is super awesome. So again, we are so glad that you joined in for this episode today, and we will see you here again soon. Bye.
Bye.